How's it going, everybody? It is Keenest Fox here today, and this is my channel where I obviously talk about Sonic or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and mostly, mostly just those two. But I also talk about anime, video games, and cartoons. And today, if you haven't read the title, I am going to obviously talk about Chris Thorndyke, probably one of the most hated characters in the entire series. And I know my opinion is going to seem very controversial and whatnot, but legitimately, I don't even think Chris is a bad character. I think Chris is probably a really good written character, and a lot of people just don't want to acknowledge it. I wouldn't want to acknowledge it either over a year ago. I used to actually hate the character as well. So I'm going to be talking about reasons why people don't like Chris. Then I'm going to talk about my overall thoughts on Chris, and also talk about some of Chris's feats. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do here. So let's get into the video. Alright, first we're going to explore some of the reasons why people find Chris to be annoying and whiny. Or find the reasons why people hate Chris. So my first subject is going to be he's annoying and whiny. That's usually a common argument that you will hear. So most people find Chris to be annoying, usually for his outburst over Sonic or whatever, or just that they just don't like his character and whatnot. Now, I totally get it. Chris can kind of be a little annoying sometimes when he shouts out Sonic and he's totally dependent on him. Yeah, I understand. It's not exactly appealing to listen to. It might be the voice actor, I guess, in question, but yeah. I mean, because 4Kids, they have some weirdo voice actors. Like, some voice actors are decent in some shows, like Yu-Gi-Oh! I thought most of the voice actors in Yu-Gi-Oh! Were pretty good. Or Pokemon, some of them are definitely good. But in shows like, I don't know, One Piece, so I was like, oh, 4Kids is One Piece. No, you can keep that. But in Sonic X, I feel like they got more. They have some hits and misses. Like, some characters are good. Well, most characters I think are good because they end up transitioning into the games, like Jason Griffith or Mike Pollock or Lisa Orts, or hell, Dan Green was probably the best person to ever voice Knuckles, in my honest opinion. But yeah, come to think of it. But anyways, I'm off topic. So yeah, but I found like some characters, like for example, Bo-Kun. I used to find Bo-Kun to be annoying as a character back in like the 4Kids version of Sonic X, right? And after watching the sub, because I'm finished with that now, so I'm going to do a review on Sonic X and stuff. So expect that video coming out soon. But Bo-Kun, I used to find his character to be annoying inside the 4Kids version, right, in the English dub. But then after watching the Japanese sub, I found Bo-Kun to be a little bit more tolerable in there. Like, his voice wasn't like nails on a chalkboard, honestly. And no offense to the voice actor who voiced Bo-Kun in the English dub, or Chris, who voiced, the actor who voiced Chris and whatnot. But a little fun fact, Jason Griffith, actually, the guy who voices Sonic, Shadow, and even Jet from the games, yeah, he actually auditioned originally to voice Chris. So I guess maybe if it wasn't for Chris, maybe we probably wouldn't have Jason Griffith voicing Sonic, huh? Or Shadow. But anyways, yeah, because arguably Jason Griffith is probably one of the best voice actors to voice Sonic and Shadow. But yeah, but back on topic with Chris. So yeah, Bo-Kun found his voice to be annoying. Totally like his character in the sub version. He's kind of like that annoying, goofy kid and whatnot. Maybe I might talk about that later. But yeah, that's Chris. But in terms of him being annoying and whiny, honestly, I feel like Chris is similar to another character. I feel like he's similar to Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. Now, a lot of people would say in New Hope, right, the first Star Wars movie, that Luke was annoying and he was whiny and stuff. And yeah, and honestly, like, think about it. Luke was probably the most least experienced character on that team, on that roster of main characters, because you have Han Solo, who's the mercenary, you have Chewbacca, who's also a mercenary, you have Princess Leia, who's the rebel leader, you have Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is the Jedi Master, and literally C-3PO and R2, even though they're not fighters per se. Well, R2 might be. I mean, he can scrap, but those two, they're not specifically fighters, but they still have a lot of experience from the war that happened prior, So yeah, so there's some stuff right there. But Luke is the least experienced character on the team, right? And then eventually over time, from after A New Hope and going into Return of the Jedi, not Return of the Jedi, going to New Hope to Empire Strikes Back, Luke kind of becomes a little bit better. He's been honing his skills as a Jedi and whatnot without a master and stuff, training his abilities in the Force and lightsaber combat. But it's obviously not enough to take down, Darth Vader, of course. And then he gets his ass kicked, took probably the biggest L in his whole career in that whole movie. And then we have Return of the Jedi, where he's definitely now a Jedi Knight, anointed by Yoda and stuff. He's like one of the last characters and stuff. He's definitely matured. And I feel like that's probably, you can probably compare this to like Chris, because Chris in season one, yeah, Chris was annoying a little bit in season one, or he was always getting captured, or he was making reckless decisions. Totally get it. Season two, you still get some of that, but Chris is also trying to grow as a character as well. And he's trying to break some of his own limits, and he's testing himself to try and get better, and I actually like that. And then season three, I mean, come on. People love season three on Chris. Well, I wouldn't say they love him, but yeah, because again, I just said he was one of the most hated characters, but a lot of people say they found his character to be more tolerable, and that's why I'm season three, yeah, that's where Chris's character actually developed a lot. I mean, is it not? Yeah, because he's 18, he's a lot more mature, and he's definitely a lot more like reliable as a character, right? But yeah, we'll get into that later though. So, anyways, but in terms of him being annoying and whiny, I feel like maybe that might be a character thing, I suppose. I mean, because he does grow into a better character at some point. So, yeah. So let's go into my second reason. I know I've spent a little bit, yeah. So my second reason is the second reason is he gets too much focus and he steals too much from Tails and Amy. Now, all right, let's see. People say this. Let's see. People say he steals character traits from Tails in one moment of Amy from persuading Shadow to save Earth, and then some people are like, yeah. And not to mention, I mean, Chris appears in like just as many episodes as Sonic does, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong here, but I think, yeah. Like, there were probably only 2 episodes where Chris and Sonic were both absent, and that's one solo episode about Knuckles, and I think another about Shadow and Rouge, but that's about it. But I think, yeah, Chris appears just as much as Sonic, but I think, honestly, that's probably supposed to be a part of his character development going from episode 1 all the way up to episode 78, which is the last Sonic X episode. But on the topic with Tails and Amy, though. So, does he steal from Tails and Amy? I don't think he does. I used to also make that claim, oh, he steals from Tails and Amy, they should have done this, X, Y, and Z. Now, stealing from Tails, yeah, some people say, well, Chris is like Tails. I mean, he's like Sonic's best friend. He's also like very smart. And stuff. I mean, yeah, he is smart, but eventually he becomes smarter in season 3. Season 1 and 2, I mean, he's an average kid. I mean, in there, I'm like, he's not like doing anything like making the tornado, or he's like, doing anything on par with his grandpa or anything, right? No. But again, yeah, he's just a regular human kid with his limits. And honestly, I don't think there's anything that Chris has done really inside Sonic X that's really like eclipsed Tails and Amy, that just made him the star of the show, Some people would say like, oh, well, they should call it Chris X or something. No. But anyways, Tails, though, stealing from him, I don't think he steals too much from Tails or anything, because again, Tails still has great moments, Amy still has great moments. There have been times where Tails and Amy have both rescued Sonic on some occasions. What else? They've had their character moments for sure. Tails literally built the tornado. He built the Blue Typhoon. He was the one to help take down Final Mova or Dark Oak in the end of the series. So, yeah, not Chris. So my point is, like, yeah, he also saved Station Square from getting nuked by Dr. Eggman. So I don't see how Chris eclipses Tails here, because again, he still has his moments, right? Amy also has her moments as well. So yeah, I'm just saying, like, yeah, I don't think, honestly, like, they don't steal any, like, I don't think Chris steals anything from those 2 characters. And that's just my opinion. If you think so, I mean, that's cool. All right, now we're going to my third topic. Let's see, who would that be? All right, he's useless and his character is pointless. Now, people think Chris is a useless character, and even though he's a 12-year-old human child, I mean, yeah, I mean, I can understand, okay, well, yeah, he's useless, he can't do anything, he can't stop a Badnik, he can't fight, he can't destroy mechs, I get it, I totally get it. But the thing is, I guess with Chris is that Chris is supposed to at least show us that doing little things can really make a big difference. Like Chris, honestly, and I'm going to get into the feats later with Chris, but to be honest, I think Chris is very athletic for a kid his age and whatnot, right? Because he's been put in these situations, so obviously. He's also a really good swimmer, so that's definitely helpful, because Sonic himself in the first episode, Sonic can't swim. and Chris ended up saving his life literally in the first episode and stuff. So yeah, he's a good swimmer, and he can help find the Chaos Emeralds and whatnot, like he did when they were fighting Perfect Chaos. So yeah, I mean, it's just the little things that really do count or make a big difference. And I'm pretty sure like whoever's watching this, they can also make a big difference in very small little ways. Just it's the little things that also count as well. So that's what I think on that subject of him not like yeah. And then of course when season 3 pulls up, yeah, Chris is definitely a much more reliable and useful character there as well because not only is he one of the smartest characters in the series, but he's also like how do I put this? Not only is he one of the smartest characters in the series now, but he's also like how do I put this? He's smart and he can do things like work on the Blue Typhoon and all this stuff. We're going to get into feats later, I promise. So, anyways, what else? All right, number 4. He's unrelatable as a character. Now, most people say they can't relate to Chris as a character because he's rich. And honestly, I feel like that's a terrible excuse that he's unrelatable. I mean, come on, because he's rich. I mean, you do realize that Chris still goes to like a public school, right, where other non-rich kids go to. So I don't see how that makes Chris like, unrelatable and stuff. I mean, he's a regular child. He has 2 parents and stuff. He has his grandpa. I know a lot of people. I don't have housekeepers myself, like Mr. Takanaka or Ella, but I mean, I get it. But again, a lot of people just focus on Chris being a rich kid. And honestly, I'm pretty sure if you like, come on, there are other characters in fiction where people can relate to, like I don't know, Iron Man or Batman. Or maybe even the Black Panther. Those are like those guys are rich characters. Probably richer than Chris actually. They're all rich characters and stuff. A lot of people can relate to them. They're good characters. They're well written, right? So I don't see how Chris is any different. I mean, Princess Sally, one of the most beloved Sonic characters, right? She's a princess. She runs the entire Acorn Kingdom, or at least her parents do. Obviously, Sally's rich. She should probably be more rich than Chris, to be honest, given her status, right? So I don't see how that makes Chris unrelatable, man. I mean, unless you like I said, like I just don't think you should really. I don't think people should really hold Chris to that standard if they're just saying, well, he's just a rich kid. It's not like, oh, this comes up in a conversation that, oh, well, my superpower is me being rich, Yeah, I'm just saying, like. No, like Chris, he doesn't really like to talk about all that stuff. All right, so let's see. We're at number 4, and then he's also spoiled because he's a rich kid. Let's see, number 5. He was not in the video games. I feel like that's a really poor reason. Yeah, Chris wasn't in the video games, but again, same can be said about a lot of other Sonic characters who appeared in the cartoons and the comics and stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know, the Freedom Fighters. So the Freedom Fighters weren't in the video games, right? Sonya and Manic, they're fan favorites as well, but they weren't in the video games. Or, I don't know, Breezy the Hedgehog, she was in the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon. Then she made her way in the comics, but she wasn't in the video games. My point being is, I'm like, at least give Chris a chance here. I mean, yeah, he may not be, like, you might not like him, I guess, cool, but at least think about it. Like, think about his character growth. And at least acknowledge. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but at least I want people to at least be a little aware of this, or at least, I don't know, just open their minds to this, because is Chris really a bad character? Let's be honest. And then there's another thing about him looking like Sora from Kingdom Hearts, which, I mean, he does. Yeah, I'm not going to lie there. He does look like Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I like Sora. He's kind of cool. But, yeah. So, anyways, that's all the reasons why people hate Chris Thorndyke. I will talk about probably some of his feats and then my overall thoughts on Chris as a character. So, as I was saying before, a lot of people will usually say that Chris is useless or can't fight or whatever, which I would strongly disagree with, or there's evidence that is literally contradictory to that. I know Chris may not be as strong as Sonic and his friends. He even said he was weaker than Cream. So he's at least, aware of that, of course. But he still does find plenty of ways to contribute to the team and whatnot to, to support, whether it's making inventions, hacking, or using some of his, resources to his advantage, Even at the age of 12, he was doing all he could. So I'm going to share with you some of Chris's feats, like what he can do, some of his talents, because I think Chris is honestly a really talented kid, and he really does strive to try and break his limits, which I think that's respectable. All right. So, despite being a human child, Chris is very athletic for his age. Chris has an interest in sports like baseball, football, and even swimming. He was fast enough to hit a super pitch from one of Eggman's robots, Valios, and he's also an active swimmer. He can swim inside that adult-sized pool in his parents' yard. He even saved Sonic too a few times from drowning. So, yeah, Chris is a pretty good swimmer. Also, I don't see how that makes him useless either. If he's able to swim and Sonic can't. So, yeah. What else has he done? He's also rode a bike from the city to a desert overnight, showing you his endurance. So, yeah, Chris has a lot of stamina because like riding a bike all the way up to the desert, yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, I'm like that's a lot of endurance or a lot of stamina. But anyways, he was also strong enough to break free of Eggman's restraints, and he even risked his own life just to get fried by the Chaos Emeralds, which was kind of like the power was kind of cut off at the last minute thanks to Deco. But still, Chris is very impulsive and he's kind of gutsy too, so gotta respect that. And he did all of that just to save Sonic. So yes, yeah. So 12-year-old Chris, he does have some pretty impressive feats. Now let's talk about 18-year-old Chris, who has a lot more impressive feats. All right. So at the age of 18, Chris has become a black belt in martial arts. So for those who think that Chris can't fight, I hate to tell you this, but you're pretty much wrong. Chris is literally a black belt in martial arts, and his skills actually do show inside the series, at least in the third season. He became a black belt. He was trained by his butler, security guard, Mr. Takanaka. And if you don't remember, Mr. Takanaka, yes, he's really influenced heavily from samurais and stuff, but he's strong enough where he can at least handle three different secret servicemen at once, and he was able to smash through rocks. So yeah, he's pretty. He's pretty impressive. That doesn't mean he can handle a badnik or something, or some kind of like mech or whatever. Nah, they can't do all of that, but still, it's impressive nonetheless. So, anyways, and yeah, Chris was trained by this guy too. Keep in mind, Chris can also break like 5 tiles and whatnot, he stated, which, again, Mr. Takanaka can break through stone rocks, so I can believe, yeah, Chris can definitely break through 5 tiles in one strike. So, let's see what else we got. He's also defeated fodder Metarex goons, like the Metarex Vipers and stuff, when he was trying to save Tails and Cosmo, which that alone should really put him above average, should put him above an average human for that matter. Chris was even able to rescue Dr. Eggman at one point from a bunch of other Metarex fodders. So, yeah. So Chris really, he does have a lot of skills. He can fight, despite popular belief. And then let's get into some of Chris's other talents besides just fighting. So, as we all know, Chris is pretty tech savvy, and personally myself, I think Chris is probably one of the smartest Sonic characters in the series. He's not the smartest, I wouldn't put him above Tails or Eggman, but still, Chris, he actually could measure up, or he isn't too far off the mark here. Like, he has made stuff that really has impressed or wowed both Tails and Dr. Eggman. So, I think that's at least worth noting. Like, he's created hover shoes, he's created razor blades, he's created snowboards or ring road, the type of shoes that Sonic wears that is really handy. Like, can you imagine how sick that would be in terms of like gameplay and whatnot? So, I mean, just imagine that they actually did bring Chris into. I mean, you don't necessarily have to bring Chris in for that, but just imagine it though if they just brought in Chris in the games and he was able to like just contribute all that, like the customization and stuff, and like Sonic can like just do all that crazy stuff. That'd be pretty awesome in my opinion. But anyways, outside of that, his inventions and stuff. Chris, as I mentioned before, he has a license in all types of vehicles, so he can drive cars, trucks, boats, spaceships, airplanes, whatever. Because yeah, Chris has a license on all types of vehicles, which I think that's pretty impressive. He was trained by his grandpa. So yeah, and as we know, Chris goes to college. He works at fast food places and stuff like businesses. So yeah. I think Chris, he definitely is a very talented kid. trust me, when I was 18, I was not able to do all this stuff. It would be nice, but I think that's the type of thing that we all should at least strive to like work towards, to trying to like do these things that Chris can do, you know? Like whether you see Chris as some kind of role model or you don't, these are at least things that you should probably like, strive to achieve to want to outdo yourself. So yeah, so that's all for Chris's feats. Now I'm going to just talk about his overall character, his character arc, and all that other stuff. All right, so now I'm going to share with you Chris's story and all that other stuff. So let's get into it. So prior to Sonic X, Chris grew up in a mansion with his parents, his two housekeepers, and his grandpa. They spent a lot of time with him until he was 6, and for 6 straight years, they dedicated most of their time to their jobs. Despite having Ella, Takanaka, and Chuck being there for him, it wasn't the same as his parents being absent. And it wasn't just Chris feeling this way, but it was his parents as well. Being an adult myself, I know what it's like to miss out on things no matter how much money I make. And formerly being a kid, it can be disappointing when you aren't able to spend time with people you care about. And Chris was also sheltered and doubtful of his own ability, something most of us can relate to. So this is where I think Chris is definitely a relatable character in this aspect. Where I know it may not seem tragic enough, where it's like Batman losing his parents or Iron Man losing his parents or whatever. But still, when you don't get enough attention, like as a kid, your parents are always working and they're too busy for you. It just just you might have some either resentment or you might become a bit of a rebel. Things can happen, with or whether you have both parents or not. Yeah, some of these traits are bound to surface. So yeah, um, that's Chris's background. So let's talk about when Chris was 12 and whatnot. This should be a little interesting. So when Chris was 12, he met Sonic and Tails, Amy, Cream, and Knuckles, and they impacted his life positively. As a kid, Chris considered being a zoologist, my bad. And as shown later in season 3, he became interested in technology like the men in his family are. He also worked hard to push his limits in season 2, where he made it to the semifinals in the Chaos Emerald martial arts mashup tournament and breaking some of the school records. That's some also pretty good feats for Chris. Chris is also a kind character, and he's willing to go behind his own caretaker's back just to give Sonic and his friends some shelter. He's also tried to rescue Boko and Deco from a monster on an uncharted island, despite being enemies and all. But Robot Segman keeps around, and despite being reckless and making irrational decisions, Chris can be a little level-headed. He kept Big the Cat calm as he was panicking on the egg carrier, and he was able to break up arguments between Tails and Knuckles when they were having over the Metarex. And despite popular belief, Chris is very selfless as a character, putting his own concerns aside for himself for the sake of others. The scene where Chris runs off with Sonic may seem contradictory, but honestly, think about the context. His friends that he's lived with for about 6+ months that he idolizes are going away forever, including the one person that he's always like admired. As a preteen, he's emotional and he's indecisive and what to do, but eventually he makes the right decision by letting Sonic go. Then later he develops his own way on how his friends and family can see them again, not giving up hope. His teacher, Mr. Stewart, points this out that not letting go was his own in season 1, and by the time of season 2 finale, Chris has grown. He grows up finally. Not to mention, he wasn't ready to go back to his dull life where his parents spent less time with him because of the adventuring was his escapism. Even Sonic and his friends grew attached to the world and found it hard to go back, which is why Sonic wasn't at all bothered, especially when he could use Chaos Control at any time, that very moment. But later in Season 3, where Chris is faced with a similar dilemma about returning home to see his family and friends or to go help save the universe, he sacrifices his own personal desires to help stop the Metarex. So yeah, that's pretty selfless, is it not? So yeah, I think honestly, yeah, Chris is a very selfless character, and I think yeah, that's pretty much his story. Like okay, like Chris, yeah, you could probably say that he was selfish for running off with Sonic, but again, think of the context. If you just hate Chris based off of this alone. Well, you can take that for you can hate him all you want, I guess. That's all well and good. But still, keep in mind, Chris is still a kid. At least when he was like 12 and he ran off with Sonic, he was a preteen, not even a teenager. He ran off with Sonic. He was being impulsive and indecisive. He didn't know what to do or how this is all going to turn out. Because again, Chris is a kid. But when he let Sonic go, he finally grows up. But and again, he didn't want to let Sonic go because again, he didn't want to return to like how things were. Because adventuring was kind of his escapism. He wanted to. He liked going on adventures with Sonic. It really brought out the best in him. And for them just to go away, and him just to go back to his ordinary life where his parents all just ignore him, and it's just back to square one. Which nobody wants to really go back to. Just like people don't want to go back to like how things were in a certain point in their life where it was like depressing and stuff for them. So that's what I think about that matter for Chris. But yeah, it was pretty selfless. Like Chris definitely does become a lot more decisive and a lot more of a selfless character going onwards when he's 18, because Eggman tells Chris that even if they use the Master Emerald, which that was the way how Chris was able to get back to Sonic's world, that if he were to use up all the power for the Master Emerald just to stop Final Mova, then Chris won't have a way of getting home, or it'll probably be a long time before he could get home. But hey, Chris obviously took the chance. He was like, he didn't struggle. He just, he made up his mind. He was like, just use it. I'll find some other way around it or something, which again, that's pretty cool. And that definitely shows you his character development from season 1 and 2, because if it was season 1 and 2 Chris, he'd probably be a little bit just, I don't know, like indecisive. He wouldn't know what decision to make. But I think in the end of the day, he might have made the right decision. But grown Chris, 18-year-old Chris, yeah, he made it without second guessing himself, which is something that we all kind of tend to do. So, anyways, as an adult, Chris has become a respectable character in season 3. He's humbled himself to work at fast food restaurants, which that kind of debunks him being spoiled, because Chris ain't spoiled. Yeah, sure, he's a rich kid, but that doesn't necessarily make him spoiled, He attends college, so he's very educated. He's gotten his license on all types of vehicles, and he's got a cute girlfriend. And he also knows karate, so that's pretty cool. And he's one of the smartest characters in the series. So I'm like, yeah, put some respect on Chris's name. Honestly, he's one of the best written characters who just isn't acknowledged enough, And those are some valid reasons to inspire to become like this, and just draw from these examples. Just a little advice from me to the viewer, try to do things like get a girlfriend, learn karate or martial arts or something. That's pretty cool. Learn how to protect yourself and your woman. Go to school, educate yourself. Learn how to drive. You never know. It would come in handy to have a license or to be able to drive a car. What else? Get a job. It's good at work. You gotta have money. Find your own kind of independence. So, yeah. But anyways, that's what I think overall of Chris's character. I will tell you my conclusion and stuff as to why I think about Chris overall. I know this is the character overall, but I'm just saying this is just my next thing is going to be about just the conclusion. Alright, so hear me out. I know this is going to seem a little bit controversial, but I honestly think Chris Thorndyke should probably be added to the games. I mean, he was created by Sonic Team after all, and I mean, just think about like how interesting that would make the game's story. I'm not saying Chris should just take over and he's the one who is in this eternal rivalry with Dr. Eggman. He's stealing spotlight from Tails and Amy and Knuckles. No, I'm not saying all that. But what I actually am trying to say is just think about it. I mean, he could just be a supportive character working on upgrading customization for playable characters, or he could be a part of a mini game or something like Chao Garden. Because you have characters like even Dr. Eggman, who's part of Chao Garden and Sonic Adventures 2. So I don't see why why not have Chris in there. part of like a mini game or customization or something. I mean, I know you could just say, well, you could just literally easily replace Tails or Chris, but I mean, let's be honest. Like, do you really want to see Tails like just being a part of the customization, or do you want to have Tails as a playable character in the game, like in Sonic Mania? Like, that's like saying, would I take Sonic Mania Tails or would I take Sonic Forces Tails? Because I know I'm going to take Sonic Mania Tails, who is a playable character, who is kind of a badass in there and all that other stuff. Instead of getting butchered and then getting watered down to just being the tech geek who just follows around Sonic and whatnot. But yeah, also Chris can be more of a he can be more of the Otacon type of character. You know what I mean? Like Otacon from Metal Gear Solid. Like Otacon. Otacon may not be exactly the toughest dude. He's not a playable character. But still, Otacon, he is like supportive. He's definitely like loved by a lot of fans of Metal Gear Solid. He has a lot of good characterization. He has a good dynamic with Snake. He's always keeping the player informed on the situation or giving helpful advice on how to defeat the boss or defeat the Metal Gear. Yeah, like Chris can literally just be that and whatnot, right? I'm just saying. Um, yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be a playable character, but he could just be in the story. And you don't have to use from pre-established history from Sonic X. You could probably just add Chris along in the story. You could probably age him up, age him down. I don't know, whatever. But personally, I'd probably just age him up to be like 18, like how he was in season 3, and then he meets Sonic and stuff, and they have this like good dynamic with each other, kind of like in a Shadow and Maria kind of way, which is probably what they were trying to go for originally. But yeah, so, anyways, what else? I'm getting a little sidetracked. So, yeah, I think Chris should definitely be there to encourage the player to keep going when stakes are getting yeah, he could probably hack into some of the stuff to unlock doors or whatever, like in Sonic Heroes, stuff like that, or just giving clues. And necessarily, yeah, it just doesn't have to follow the Sonic X continuity. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion. So, as I stated before, Chris may not be a fan favorite character, but he does have some of the best development in the series, and he should be given a chance. If if he was given a good with the right go, he can just give him a chance. And unfortunately, like other characters like Sakura or Ash Ketchum, people just reiterate the same petty excuses like they're being useless and stupid. Like you have Watchamojo for that, or just I don't know the internet. But again, these characters aren't necessarily bad. They do have, yeah, obviously they have their weaker moments, but they definitely do have their strengths. And Chris is one of those kind of characters who definitely has a lot of strength. So, anyways, that's the end of my video, people. I hope you guys like, share, and subscribe. This is my video, and I am out. Peace. Until we meet next time.